One of the hallmarks of religion is a belief in supernatural beings and forces. These forces and beings can take a variety of forms, not all of which are found in every religion. The beliefs usually fall into one of 5 categories: atomism, animism, ancestral spirits, gods or goddesses, and minor supernatural beings. Animism is a belief in supernatural powers. For those who hold this belief, the power is usually impersonal, unseen, and potentially everywhere. It is neither good nor evil, but it is powerful and dangerous if misused. It is something like electricity or the Force in Star Wars movies. Animism is a widespread belief, especially in small-scale societies. Among the Polynesian cultures of South Pacific, this power is commonly known as mana. For them, it is a force that is inherent in all objects, plants, and animals, including people, to a different degree. Some things or people have more of it than others, and are therefore potentially dangerous. For instance, a chief may have so much of it that he must be carried around at all times. If he were to walk on the ground, sufficient residual amounts of his mana might remain in his footprints to harm ordinary people if they later stepped on them. Volcanoes and some other places were thought to have concentrated mana and were therefore very dangerous. A belief that natural objects are animated by spirits is animism. The term comes from the Latin word for soul. This belief can take diverse forms. Things in nature may all have within them different spirits. Each rock, tree, and cloud may have its own unique spirit. Alternatively, all things in nature may be thought of as having the same spirit. This later version of animism was created by many Native American cultures. In both forms of animism, the spirits are thought of as having identifiable personalities and other characteristics such as gender. A belief in a powerful, mature, protective Mother Nature is an example. Spirits may be benevolent, malevolent, or neutral. They can be lovable, terrifying, or even mischievous. They can interact with humans and can be pleased or irritated by human actions. Therefore, people must be concerned about them and will try to avoid displeasing them. One special category of spirit found in the belief system of most cultures consists of the soul or ghost of ancestors. A belief in ancestral spirits is consistent with the widespread conviction that humans have at least 2 parts, a physical body and some kind of non-physical spirit or soul. The spirit portion is generally believed to be freed from the body by death and continues to exist in some form. Ancestral spirits are often seen as retaining an active interest and even membership in their family and society. Like living people, they can have emotions, feelings, and appetites. They must be treated well to assure their continued goodwill and assistance to the living. In China, ancestral spirits are often thought of as still being active family members. They are treated warmly with respect and honor. In European cultures, the spirit of dead ancestors are usually not thought of so kindly. The dead and their spirits have been seen historically as dangerous. They haunt the living and often do unpleasant, frightening, and unpredictable things. The belief that the dead, more likely than not, will be malevolent is one of the reasons that Europeans have traditionally buried their relatives in cemeteries, which are essentially cities for the dead physically separated from the living. In some cultures, people eat parts of the body of dead relatives or mix their cremated ashes in water and drink it. This mortuary cannibalism is intended to allow the dead to remain part of their living family. For the Yamamano and some other lowland forest people of South America, not consuming the ashes of their relatives would be extremely unkind and insensitive. Most religions maintain a belief in powerful supernatural beings with individual identities and recognizable attributes. These beings are usually thought of as gods or goddesses. Another term for them is deities. Like spirits, they have individual identities and recognizable attributes. However, gods and goddesses are more powerful than spirits and other lesser supernatural beings. They can effectively alter all of nature and human forces. As a result, they are commonly worshipped and requests are made of them to help in times of need. When there are many gods in a religion, they are typically ranked relative to each other in terms of their power and interest. The supreme god is often establishes the order of the universe at the beginning of time and is now remote from earthly concerns. As a result, supreme deities may be almost ignored in favor of lesser gods. who take an interest in the everyday affairs of humans. Religions differ in the number of gods that their followers believe exists. A belief that there is only one God is referred to as monotheism. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are examples of monotheistic religions. In contrast, a belief in more than one God is known as polytheism. The simple distinction between monotheism and polytheism may be deceptive. The truth can be much more complex. In India, the Bali Hindus can be observed worshipping hundreds of different gods. This fits the classic description of a polytheistic religion. However, since the many gods are only different manifestations of the Supreme Being or Brahma, Hinduism can also be interpreted as a monotheistic religion. It all depends on whether you are talking to a ritual peasant farmer or an educated priest. Minor supernatural beings are not spirits, gods, humans, or other natural beings. People do not pray to them for help. Yet these beings have some supernatural capabilities. In Western European folk tradition, leprechauns, elves, and pixies were minor supernatural beings. They were human-like in appearance and personality, but could do things that were beyond the ability of humans. Minor supernatural beings often have a trickster role. That is to say, they fool people, do outlandish things, and disappear. For instance, many rural people in Ireland in the past believed that elves steal boy children. As a result, mothers clothe their young sons in dresses and let their hair grow long like girls to avoid them being taken. Tricksters are frequently neither good nor bad. They do want what they want and are often troublemakers. For the Indians of western North America, Coyote usually has such a trickster role in popular stories. For instance, he would skillfully disarm powerful people with his words and then magically steal what they valued most when their guard was down. In most cultures, tricksters are small, quick-moving animals. In India, the trickster is usually a mouse, and in Africa it's a spider. Tricksters are still popular in the high-tech industrialized societies of the modern world. However, we rarely make connections with the tricksters of earlier traditions of cultures. For instance, the cartoon character Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck are classic tricksters. They are small animals that speak and act like humans and play unexpected humorous tricks at the expense of others, and usually avoid the consequences for themselves.